So in your tables, I would like you to discuss which one of these you're the most excited about. All of them are related to AI, all of them are related to predictive analytics, and they're either a gateway to getting to AI or they are a form of AI. So in your groups, and then I'll pick randomly on the tables. Is that okay? Is that okay? Awesome. So we've got a minute. Let's get to talking and discussing which one of those is the one you think applies the most or you're the most excited about when it comes to the discussion of AI within utilities. All right, everybody. So do we have any volunteers before I pick at random to just let us know of the word or the term that either they're the most excited about or they would like to know more of, like know more about? So any volunteers? Any groups to volunteer? Nobody? So I saw the group over there with the gentleman there. You're having a passionate conversation. Sorry, I actually mean you, sirs. You're having a passionate conversation earlier. I would really like to know what you were talking about. Yes.
Non-revenue water, but we feel like we're cheating because we work in an AI developer for non-revenue water solutions. So that was definitely the one that was the most interesting to us. But actually, I think all of them have a value, and there's a place for AI development in helping us understand data in all of these. But non-revenue water was the one that we work in, so that was where we were most interested.
Awesome. So non-revenue water, that's the contribution from the group over there. Thank you very much. Do I have a volunteer or shall I continue to randomly pick? No volunteers. So I've got this lovely group in the middle. Hello. Hi. Hello. We'd really like to know what you were discussing and which one you're excited about.
We were looking at that pyramid that Amir also showed earlier, where level 5 at the top is sort of the top of smart water, and that represents for most of us, I think, digital twin and analytics and AI. That is currently sort of, for many of us, a very interesting aspect of smart water, but we do know that all the other aspects create the foundation for that. And you need your IoT sensors, you need your smart metering in place, and obviously your data must be of good quality.
Amazing. So this group really summarized how we need to have an infrastructure to support IoT sensors all the way up to having the data analytics that come from it. Thank you very much. Was that you volunteering?
Around customer service.
Could you please repeat that for everybody?
So decision making definitely, not only for non-revenue water related investigation and things like that and inputs, but also around the customer services side of things, where we need to look at various lots of the computing, lots of data around consumption data, what was the trend of the consumption, what was like issuing of rebates.
Would love to hear your contribution.
The analytics is at the end of the value chain. So you are aware of the issues. Basically, you've collected all the data. So now you're at the point where you want to look at the data. So I'm assuming that one of the best tools. Now you can project for the next year's instance. So I look forward to that. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your contributions. Can I have a round of applause for all of you that are here? So whilst I was on stage, I could see the passionate conversations that you were having. And I could definitely see the amount of expertise that you had. So prior to this event, we had the list of the attendees shared with all of us as speakers. And what I found the most interesting is each one of you is an expert in your own field, and there's such a wealth of knowledge that is already here relating to how we can get to an AI-ready utility that if we blend it together, we're going to get to the correct answers, and they're going to be cool, and they're going to be amazing. So a bit about me. I am an AI and data engineer. I started off in the world of robotics, so I worked a lot with IoT devices in different aspects. Then I went on to build my software engineering skills, so started building up systems, and then got into data analytics and engineering, and started reporting on everything from the sensor that has recorded the value to the system that is placing it in the right tables, all the way to something that we presented onto boards. Now, I am also a founder of an analytics company, which is Aurora Tech. I just prefer the title AI and Data Engineer because I am, at my core, a builder. And this is what we're going to be talking about, an AI-ready utility. We just did a reality check where I asked you to raise your hand if you think your utility is AI-ready. And a lot of you aren't as convinced that they are. So let's go through the steps together. So a utility trying to use AI tools in any form, be it predictive analysis, be it digital twins, be it some form of machine learning so that they can create their own model, needs to go through the layers that are there. So the first thing when we speak of smart water networks is smart metering, which we have been speaking about all morning, really. And it's part of a broader spectrum of the Internet of Things, connecting things to each other and having them speak and share data with us. So these deployments are necessary. And can I say we all agree that when we say we need IoT, we need smart metering, and this is necessary? Do we agree? Doesn't sound as enthusiastic. Thank you very much. And then we're going to need public reporting. We've done all these, we've put in millions into a smart water network. We need to report back to the public, to our stakeholders, to our investors, to let them know that this is the impact that what we have placed in is putting out. So we have dashboards, we've got reports that our utilities give us, but is it where it's supposed to be? Can we say we need to improve our reports or even the way we report? Is that something we can agree on? That was quite mid, so yes-ish. And then the interest in AI, it's rising, it's been rising. I think right now it could be reaching its peak, right? And we are looking at different ways to integrate it so that we can make our lives more easy, more efficient, our processes more profitable, and for us to even get more insights from what we already know, building off our human knowledge. Is that something we can agree on? Is that something we can agree on? Okay. And then we've got governance. I love this word because I think I heard it a couple of times yesterday. We spoke a lot about governance, especially in our roundtables, as a very important part of us getting to where we want to get to in our utilities. And that is something we need to look at. So here I've got a model of a house. Right at the top, we've got AI, which is going to make everything better, get prescriptive systems, get predictive analysis, be more proactive as opposed to reactionary in the way we make decisions. And then right in the middle is our governance. So when we're talking about governance, we also need to talk about what makes us make the decisions that we want to make. What is the knowledge that is sitting in you and I's mind, and that is part of what we know that we can then share with AI so that we can be able to then get the results that we need. To break it down, we're looking at thresholds. We're looking at who needs what water when. Where are we going to get the most revenue? Where are we going to get the most impact? And where are we going to manage also Where are we also going to manage our utility so that it's in the best space possible? We could push all the water to revenue-making clients, but what happens to the non-revenue-making clients? What happens to the non-revenue water, which is also quite important? We could cut off certain places, but what is the impact on business? What is the impact on us being investable? So right in there is when we ask the hard questions, where we ask, what do we need to measure, and what thresholds do we need to put in, and what are the triggers, what would turn an insight into yellow, red, or would keep it green, depending on how we want to manage our utility. And right at the bottom of all of that glues us together, is our data. Where is it? Who's got access to it? Is it in the right format? Is it accurate? And is it the correct data that we should be recording? So we've got this house, but right at the bottom and right at the foundation, what creates the glue and what makes it stable is the data that we have. Can we agree that data is the most important part of us building any AI system in our utilities? I saw more nods than yeses there. Is that a yes? A big yes? Thank you. So here we've got a scorecard. So we are going to look at our utilities and see how they're scoring to the scorecard. So what I've added in a graphic there, what it generally is something called the valley of death. If you've been in the startup ecosystem, they speak about this a lot more. I think it's year 2 to year 3, valley of death. Most startups die in that area. If you're in business, we're looking at times when you have high inflation. There is a time when some of your investment become, well, technically bad debts. And you're looking at them as, oh, we're not probably going to even break even there. That is another valley of death. If you're speaking of utilities, we are looking at the days approaching day 0. That is a valley of death. So what happens with AI there is that there is a time when our utility, our business is going to say, we want AI and we want it now. But then when the data is not ready and we're not asking who, what, why we need that data, we then fall into the valley of death where we have projects that we paid millions for, thousands for, starting but not ending, because today they say they need data on the dam levels. Tomorrow they say they need data on the quality of the water in the dams. The next day they say they need data on the pipelines. But if we know about this, we would avoid that valley of death where 80% of AI projects fail. So this is a statistic from the World Bank on the AI projects failing. So we're going to do another quick activity here. You know your utility better. You could be a part of a utility working within one, or the one that you have at home that services you as a customer. So you could be on the outside looking in, or on the inside looking out. But let's have a discussion for the next 2 minutes on where your utility stands and how many boxes there on AI readiness your utility is ticking. Should I repeat that? Okay, so we've got the utility readiness scorecard, and we've got 4 boxes there. So we want to see which boxes your utility ticks. So it could be the utility you work in, or the utility that services you as a stakeholder. So you could be on the outside looking in, or on the inside looking out, but let's see, as an estimate, where your utility stands on this AI readiness scorecard. Is it 50% ready? Is it 25% ready? Is it 100% ready? That's what we want to figure out in the next 2 minutes. We could decide in our groups. You could pick just one utility from the people that you're seated with, and then just try to see and have discussions on this. So 2 minutes, okay? Should I make it 3? So yeah, for the next 2 minutes, let's talk. All right. So I've been asked to highlight what feedback loops are. So the feedback loops are our interaction with the AI. So is there feedback between the human and the AI in the event of hallucinations? Have we structured that? All right, everybody. Hi. Hello. Hi. Hi, everybody. I know it's a lovely discussion. We're going to come back to it. Awesome? Settled? Are we happy? Cool. I hope you had an exciting conversation in your seats and that you got to ask the questions that I got from the two groups. So I was asked, who are named owners? What are feedback loops? And the first two seem to be quite clear, but I would like to check with the group. Were the first two lines on the scorecard clear? Is that a yes? Okay, great. And then now we go into the last two. There were a bit of a curveball there. Were they clearish or were they one of those things you really needed to think of? I'll take the silence as they were a bit confusing. So let's just go through them. So the named owners is that for every data point that we have, we're going to dive into this a bit more as we go. This was just a practice round, but we're going to do the scorecard once again after we have gone through the key fundamentals of being an AI-ready utility. So named owners, we are looking at who owns the data. I understand from yesterday, there was if the people that were in the masterclass in the main room, they were told that you had one neck to choke, right? So who is the person who's going to be responsible for the data that you're going to be getting from the AI? Who's the expert in the utility? And then in the last bit, that expert needs to have feedback. Feedback loops that is, the AI gave it and gave us an answer and said that, oh, so the water coming out of the dam in Magwegwe is not as great. Can we shut off that supply and maybe do 2 days of maintenance? That's a suggestion from the AI. We need to escalate it to the relevant people, right? But before we escalate it, so that we can build trustability, there's that named owner that needs to sit down and look at the practical data, the information that that is available. They look at a dashboard, they look at the report, and they look at the water quality. Based on their knowledge, they figure out if this recommendation actually makes sense or if it's a hallucination. If it's a hallucination, they document it. The AI probably went wrong when it comes to 1, 2, 3, 4. This is what I realized. And then it's documented so that it goes back into the loop of training the AI. So it could be a service that is being offered by an organization, a third party, a business partner, that you're then giving them feedback and saying, hi, this system is great, but we've realized that it goes wrong here and there and there. And then once they have that documentation, they can also adjust the delivery of the information that their AI gives to you or your custom-built AI gives to you, even if it's as simple as ChatGPT, right? So that is what we're looking at. When it goes wrong, who is documenting it? Do we have the remedies? Do we have the logic documented? So just as a quick run through, just being aware of time, do we have any volunteers that want to let us know whether their utility is AI ready and what percentage they're at, how many boxes they tick? Anybody? Are we shy? Do you want to look back to this later? Awesome. So we had the scorecard. The scorecard helps us understand our risk exposure. This is something that investors clearly understand and they integrate into whether they're going to invest into your utility or not. So you could have cool and shiny tools like we've got a digital twin of our utility as city of so-and-so, right? And when you say that, it's great to hear, but then what is the risk exposure of that? What happens when there's a drought? What happens if we've got a pipe burst in the city? What happens when the thing that we had not planned for, a natural disaster, happens? So when I give you my money, when I give you my 1 million, have you accounted for that risk? And has it been accounted for in the AI tools that are helping you make the decisions that are going to impact millions of lives and households that you service as a utility? So we're looking at certain incidences, like we are having low rainfall. Do we know that a drought is imminent? Are we basing it on gut feeling because the rain didn't fall this year, so we are likely to have a drought? Or are we basing it on actual data where we actually know the shortage, the amount of water that we're short, and what remedies need to be made so that we can be able to fill in that gap? Do we know whether there's contamination by our favorite manufacturer? And if we should be looking into giving them a call and letting them know that the level of contamination is going to affect these dams or these rivers, and in turn the life underwater, and in turn us processing the water so that it can be drinkable, or us processing the water so that we can pipe it back into the different rivers and dams. Do we know that? Or is it a gut feeling based on maybe the color of the water, or maybe the water tastes different these days? It could be this and that. And then when we know all of this, when the capital comes, do we know where to place it? And are we making that decision based off the gut feeling? Are we making that decision based off the loudest person in the room? Or are we making that decision based off the data and the long-term impact, short-term impact of that particular investment in the utility to do a particular project? So all of this brings us to what we call a black box. We could input all of our gut feelings and some data, and then we'll put it into an AI model, but we don't necessarily understand how it's going to come up with the recommendations it's going to give us, because it's a black box. We didn't add in any thresholds, we didn't add in any triggers, we didn't add in any impact data that would then let us know whether or not on a difficult day where we have a lot of water shortage, we'll have enough water for the hospital, if we have enough water for the fire brigade, or if we have enough water for our for our neighborhood that has the highest density, and what impact that would then have on the health of the people that are in there. So because of this black box, you end up with results that either don't make sense or that you can't trust. So to fix this risk exposure that can in turn affect our utility, we then need to look into certain things that other utilities have looked at, which brings up to our third activity. On the screen are multiple utilities that have done a few things, that are working on a few things, and we want to look at which one of these utilities is in the first stages of being on the road to being AI ready, where they're not putting in their data into AI and it becomes a black box output. Which ones are in a transitional phase where they've done the groundwork, but then now they just need to add in maybe thresholds. Maybe they need to add in the data that the people that are sitting in the big meetings need to already have as experts, like how much water is used by the hospitals, how much water is used by this area, to then place it into an AI and be able to get faster responses, or even to be more effective, or to even start talking to service providers about having AI in the next 5, 10 months. And then which ones are close to a maturity stage where they should start working on their pilots. So you don't need to look at all of them. Pick out a favorite. You could even pick out one that is not on the screen that you know of. But in this session, which is going to be 10 minutes, let's just have a discussion in our groups. Which utilities are at the early stages where they're building their foundations for then using AI in the next couple of years or months? Which ones are transitional, that have some infrastructure and are moving towards becoming mature and talking to partners about utilizing AI, and then which ones are mature that they should start doing pilots. Was that understandable? Yeah. So could we do that? In the next, I got a time notification there, so I'm going to make it in the next 5 minutes. Let's just discuss in our tables. Who's transitional, who's mature, who's just starting out. So I gave you some examples of some case studies. Some of them are quite familiar if you're not a first-time SWAN. If you're a SWAN member and you've attended events before, you've heard of some of these. Some are from the presentations that were made last year, and some are from the notes and the slides that were shared during the sessions today and yesterday. And some are from people that you have been networking with over the last day. All right, everybody. How was the discussion? Hi, everybody. Time is up. Shall we make it a group discussion? Do we have any volunteers to just share what they picked out? Any volunteers? Over here. None? Shall we randomly pick? Oh, over there. Thank you.
Hi. Afternoon, everyone. I think our table concluded the following based on our AI 101 that we got in the past 4.5 minutes. The United Kingdom are probably closest to being AI ready. They use their data to do predictive pipeline management and also optimize energy and using the information to optimize the maintenance on the network. Cape Town with the digital twin are probably in a transitioning stage and phase. They've been able to reduce leakage reduction by the amount projected per day. But what next? So our assumption is they're in the transitioning stage and phase. And the rest of the utilities are pretty much in a building stage and phase. They're not doing much in terms of forecasting and predicting what next to do with data. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other volunteer? Do we agree with what they have? Do we agree with what they have? Yes? All right. I like that. That is definitely the direction that we're going. We have some that are mature, some that are transitional, and some that are starting out, right? And it's because of the state of their data that you got to the decisions that you made within the group. Am I correct? Great. So with that, we're going to look at where the gaps actually are so that we can understand where we need to go in our 90-day framework. So as I wrap up this talk, we're going to do a 90-day framework on how we can get our utilities to be AI ready or to start on the journey to be AI ready. So right there, you're going to find that we've got a few gaps that then make us unable to create the insights or to derive the power of AI in us getting better decisions, making our decisions more effectively because of these gaps. So the first one is the latency leak. When does your data arrive? If we're still deploying people to come to the different households and manually measure on a book that this household used this many liters, then after that it goes to so-and-so at the utility, who then records it, puts it into an Excel, then it's grouped at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter. By the time we want to make a decision, a lot more has happened in between. So that then means that if we have the data, but it's coming in late, we've got a leakage in the pipeline that is going to make us AI ready. Then we also have the context. Context is the knowledge that you have sitting in this room that allows you to make decisions based off the knowledge that you've acquired through learning over the years to then be able to, provide advice on whether we should cut off this dam for now so that we can treat it, or whether this treatment plant needs more resources, or whether this capital needs to be allocated towards this project based off the information that you're already holding. So if that information is in your head, but is not somewhere documented where it can then be shared, we've got another leak there, because every time the AI gives us data, we need you to verify it. And after you verify it, it means that we're doing a draw process. We'd rather we create a pipeline, that feedback loop, where we're constantly training so that we can then have a balance, and then we'll be able to build off. And then the last bit, we've got the trust leak, where if we have the wrong data being shared with us constantly, then we lose trust, and then we lose the investment that we would have made in getting an AI to be a part of our utility. So this is a reflection point, and it's a question that you should take home, which is, so what decisions are your utilities as an organization? Are you making more based on the confidence that you have in your role, rather than on measurement, on data that you've recorded over time and have documented, so that it can then become a systematic thing that can then be used when you're implementing solutions that are going to help you in your utility, especially when you're considering AI and also any other form of predictive work. So I would have loved us to do the dashboard, but we can come back to this. So this is the 4 pillars of quality analytics, because we all agree that the data is the most important when it comes to us becoming an AI-ready utility. So it's just a walkthrough of what we've already discussed, and that is our data reliable? Can our data help us make decisions? And who has recorded that data and who owns it? And that person, it becomes the human in the loop, because frankly, we can't use AI to replace the people, but we can use it to make everybody more efficient and buy them more time, so that we can do more important things, like thinking and making the very hard decisions that we need to make for our utilities. And then the governance, which is the biggest pillar. What are the thresholds? What are the things we need to look out for? What are the limitations that we need to look out for, so that we can be able to calculate the risk that is associated with each project that we make, with us adopting an AI model, or with us partaking into a capital program, us applying for capital, us giving capital. So these are the 4 pillars, so that we can make what I would like to call defensible decisions. So right at the end, it's no longer a gut feeling, but it's based on data, and it's based on trusted data that you can then defend after something then happens. So how do we get to our data being defensible? It's the big word again, governance. So governance means that we will be able to defend what we would have what we would have implemented. If we are to create in the next 5 years, actually, in the next 5 years, a system that controls the valves automatically, and then reduces or increases the pressure, or even cuts off when there are limitations, and then on one day, it cuts off the water to the hospital, we can't say the AI did it. We can't point in the court of law and say, oh, it was because of the AI model. Because then we're going to be asked, what were the thresholds, what were the guardrails you put in before that? And that brings us back to governance. So governance that is traceable, that has audit logs, that has documented thresholds, documented context, and then that can be accountable through owners of the different subsections. So this brings us back to our question again. Is your utility looking in or looking out AI ready? I do not hear any yeses. So here's what we're going to leave with. Let's get it to a point where it's going to be AI ready. So I've got a 90-day plan that turns all of our data that could be fragmented, that could be all over the place, all of our knowledge that could be all over the place, into a connected and structured, investment-ready utility that is also utilizing great technology like AI. and this is the blueprint. So first we need to audit. Who's got our data? Where is it? How often do we get it? And then where do we need to connect it? So we could see where it is, we know who has it, but maybe it's an Excel sheet with myself and my friend and somebody else, but the 3 Excel sheets do not speak to each other. Do we need to move to a different platform? Do we need to combine them so that there are linkages between this so that we can then go on to the next stage, which is to standardize. To standardize then means that if one person is recording the water in megaliters, the other person is recording in gallons, the other person is recording in liters, we need to standardize and say our utility uses this unit of measurement. We need to standardize and say these are the columns that need to be available. We need to standardize and say these are the names of the places that are there within that are serviced by our utility. Because sometimes the spelling could be just slightly different. Someone might use the shortcut name to this of the place, and then someone might use the full name. Small things like that then gets us into us designing what we call a decision tree. And that is when we are telling ourselves where data starts from and where it needs to go and what decision it needs to make. So if data is starting in a dam, we need to know the dam level. If after knowing the dam level, we need to know the quality of the water in that dam, and then we also need to know how much water we need as a utility to then service our clients and our stakeholders. And once we know that, we'll then be able to make a decision on whether or not to invest in a particular project that either increases the amount of water that we have by creating a new dam, or is it even fixing leakages and maintaining the pipes, or any other decision that we need to make. That pipeline is what we're looking at. And then from days 31 to 60, we are going to look at the speed at which we get the data at. So now we see how the data from a dam level can impact what we're going to invest in. Let's see how much of that data we get and in what timeframes we get. And after we have done that, we can then move on to day 61 and to day 90, where we start working on getting a predictive pilot. Are we predicting dam levels over the next couple of days so that we can do we can take precautionary measures so that we can let the public know to save more water? What are we doing? Or are we placing in a decision framework that is going to go to the boards, that is going to go to the people that sit in the highest levels, so that they can be able to trace back every single recommendation that is placed to them back to a data point that is defensible? And when we implement our AI, we will not get a situation where we would need to defend ourselves or distance ourselves from it. So that is the 90-day framework. So I'll end with this. AI is very easy. If you've used ChatGPT, Gemini, or even Claude, it's very easy to get information out of it. The hardest thing is governance. The hardest thing is us knowing what to do, how to get to what we need to get done, and what guardrails we're going to place so that we won't have to be in a situation where we are pointing fingers, and we're not pointing fingers at a person, but we're saying the AI did it. Thank you very much for your time. I hope this provided some value. All right.